Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. And today's special guest, he might be a household name if you're a sports fan. And certainly, if you're in business, you have to hear this story. You have to hear the story of how the little guy competed and then succeeded against the big guys, not only in sports, but also in business. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. The objective of the Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal, professional margin. That's right. Let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we're going to bring you the expert advice from a variety of authors, consultants, and thought leaders who will provide the tools you need to maximize your own personal and professional margin. Welcome to the Massimo Show. Our guest today is the one and only JJ Birden, and he was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. He went to the University of Oregon, where he was actually a two-sport star in both track and in football. Now, he's a slight guy, 5'10", and 157 pounds. JJ, you're still taller than me. He was drafted by the Cleveland Browns in 1988. He played 9 seasons with the Browns, the Cowboys, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Atlanta Falcons. Now realize he played 9 seasons where the average player only plays about a little more than 3 seasons. So this truly is something special. Now, during those 9 seasons, he also played 2 years with the one and only Joe Montana. Now, obviously, he's not the biggest or perhaps physically the strongest, although he's quite strong in the football arena, but he knows something about how to seize opportunities. So our very special guest, Mr. J. Birden. JJ, thank you for being part of the Massimo Show.
Hey, what's up, Rod? It's really good to be a part of the show. I'm excited to have an opportunity to share with your audience.
I could go back and remember games which you played, yes, with Joe Montana. So this is a thrill for me as a football and a sports fan. But JJ, let's go back. Let's go back before the big leagues, and let's talk about born, raised. What were your passions? Obviously, you were a supreme athlete. I'm assuming you were. So take us back to those teenage years. What was really your passion? Where were you? What were you doing?
That's a good question, because my passion was really, I just wanted to be successful at something. I wanted to be successful. I didn't know what that would be, but I was raised in the inner cities of Northeast Portland, and we struggled growing up, and my family members struggled. And one day I just made a decision. I'm getting out of the hood. I want to go see the world. I want to create opportunities for myself. And I didn't know how that was going to happen, but the seed was planted to break the cycle, so to speak. So that was really the motivation early on. And I wasn't even involved in sports at the time when I made that decision.
Perfect. So sports was obviously a catalyst to getting to school. So is it fair to say that you were a supreme athlete in junior high and high school?
Yeah, I'd say so. But the interesting thing is, Rod, I didn't play and organize until sophomore year in high school. My playground was the neighborhood, playing basketball, having races, playing football in the street. And then 10th grade was when I decided, let me just see if I can play high school. And that was the beginning of my athletic career, really.
And so you had the opportunity to attend the University of Oregon, which, just on a tangential note, I'm actually in the middle of Shoe Dog right now, which I'm really enjoying. But you went to Oregon and you were a 2-sport athlete, which I went to a small school and played Division I lacrosse. And I recognize even playing one sport and getting education is one heck of a juggle. So how'd you manage that? That's a lot from a productivity standpoint. 2 sports, education, how'd you do that?
Yeah, good observation. People don't understand how hard it is to be a student athlete in college. And I graduated too, and trying to balance all that. But then to add another sport, I was there 5 years. I redshirted in both sports, and Rod, I really had no time. It was either practice, a game, it was in the library, it was classes, but I learned how to manage my time and prioritize, because my goal was to graduate and then to participate in both sports and see which one would allow me to go to the next level. And to be honest, I thought it was going to be track and field, and it ended up being football, to my surprise.
So what was that distinction? Why was football the outlet for you?
I'll tell you what, my senior year, I was having a great track and field season. I had an okay football season, but I had qualified for the 1980 Olympic trials in the long jump. I was a Pac-10 champion. I was going to national. So I figured I had this route paved to like, let's go for track. And then to my surprise, I got drafted late in the NFL by the Cleveland Browns. I did not have a great senior year. I had 1 touchdown my senior year. I caught 19 passes. Those are not prototypical NFL stats for a wide receiver. So I got no chance. So I get drafted, a curiosity piece really, because Cleveland saw me as this track guy who could catch the football. So I go out to the Cleveland Browns rookie camp in the middle of my track season. The third practice, I tear up my ACL ligament. When you talk about setbacks early on, that was an initial setback. But the bright side was the NFL drafted me, so let's go sit on IR for a year with the Browns and see what happens. And it ended up working out in the end.
Yeah, so I'm thinking just from a setback standpoint, not only is football now a long road to recovery, but track and field with the ACL probably is now you're recognizing I can't go back there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, exactly. Because everything was riding on that year. And what am I going to do? Go back home and probably rehab for a year or two before I can even get back on the track. And I thought the NFL drafted me, Cleveland drafted me. Their responsibility is get me healthy. I'm a little small. I don't really think I can play in the NFL, but let's go sit on IR and kind of the situation. And I tell you, Rod, that was a blessing in disguise because I had no pressure that year. I just had to get healthy, put on a little weight, and learn the system. And that year was such a learning curve for me that it prepared me for the next year when I went to camp.
Because my lovely bride is from Warren, Ohio, I have to watch some Cleveland Brown games once in a while. So I had to ask you, when you played the second year, who was your quarterback?
My quarterback was Bernie Kosar. Bernie Kosar was there, Ozzie Newsome, Webster Slaughter, Brian Brennan, but Ernest Biner, some really big-name Cleveland Brown players.
Oh, my goodness. Now, were you there during the AFC title game years?
No, I missed that by 1 year.
Okay, got it. So before we move on to the business side, I'm going to ask you a couple of football stories. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you about your first practice and the experience you had. You had success in every level from an athlete, and now you're going up and realizing these guys are good too. So tell us about that first experience.
Yeah, the first experience, I remember it was in Cleveland. We were doing one-on-ones. I was going against all-pro Hanford Dixon. And you have to understand, like you alluded to earlier, I've always excelled in athletics. I was always faster than everybody. I was quicker. I was athletic. I'm a hard worker. So I'm thinking like, okay, I got this. This is no problem. But I quickly learned there's a reason why they're called professionals. And I remember trying to get by Hanford, and he grabbed me by my pads, and he threw me on the ground, and he said, "Rookie, this is the NFL. And the NFL every day is game day. You better do better than that." So I got a quick wake-up call that it doesn't matter what I did in the past. These guys bring their best every day. I better figure this out, or the NFL will stand for not for long. So.
And a valuable lesson from a business side, too, that every day is game day, and you really can't take days off. I know when we coach folks across the world now that the top performers, it's amazing do they work incredibly longer hours? No, but they do work consistently every day, and they really put forth an amazing effort every day. So, and we'll get into some of the lessons that you've now learned and acquired and sharing with others across the world during your speaking events in a minute. Before we take a break, I just had to ask because, I mean, I'm in my I hate to say that word, I'm in my mid-50s. And so I, of course, grew up with Joe Montana, and I was a big Joe Montana fan. You played a couple of years with Joe Montana. Obviously, you won some playoff games with the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me a good Joe Montana story.
The first time Joe got in the huddle with me. So we signed Joe, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, this is Joe. And we're in the huddle, and I'm like, that's Joe Montana. I'm like, that's Joe Montana, because I was in 8th grade watching him throw passes in Super Bowls. So the very first practice, first play, they call us X hook. I'm the X. And I'm like, I'm getting Joe's first pass. I'm getting Joe's first pass. So I get up on the line, and X hook is you run 12 yards, you turn around. I run this route in my sleep. I get about 10 yards, and Joe hits me in the back of the head with the ball. And he goes, come here, kid. He goes, I don't wait for you to get open. I've already read the defense. The hole's there. You get your head around faster. And I looked at the other wide receiver. We thought, okay, we're playing with somebody special. But that little quick tip, it elevated my game because I realized I needed to raise the bar to play with one of the greatest.
That's interesting. We're going to stop there and take a quick break because that little tip you talk about, and you talk about this, and we're going to get to those key principles that you've now relate to other business folks, is that incremental change people can make to make such a huge difference. So, folks, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the one and only JJ Birden at the Massimo Show. This is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. We always tell our clients, our Massimo members, as we call them, that knowing isn't doing. That's right. They have to actually implement what we share to have the impact and then, yes, the results on their business. Now, my new book titled Don't Kid Yourself, Knowing Isn't Doing, Build the Business and Life You Desire, I share many of our Massimo methods that we apply to our clients, and they, in fact, achieve the business and the life that they desire. Now, we had a soft launch of our book and an allotted number of copies back in March of 2020. And you know what? It was sold out within 6 hours. So we're really excited to announce our national launch of Knowing Isn't Doing in October 2020. For information about my new book, Knowing Isn't Doing, please visit knowingisn'tdoing.com. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show, and we're back with the one and only JJ Birden. Yep, the same guy who played 9 NFL seasons, despite being significantly smaller, not weaker, but smaller than most of the NFL. And he played 9 seasons where the average player, in fact, today the numbers changed. The average player plays about 2 years. So think about the hard work, the discipline, the adjusting, everything he did to have a long career. And equate that to your business and your second or third year of business, 10th, 15th year, 30th year, it really matters, right? And JJ's found the formula to have success for the long term. So we're going to talk about that right now. JJ, welcome back to the Massimo Show.
Hey, what's up, Rod? Good to be here.
JJ, you use this term, and so you suggested many times you were the smaller, maybe the underdog. You were drafted, but you didn't have the highlight senior season. So you have been that underdog and had great success for a long term based on the benchmarks and principles. And our audience many times feels like they're underdogs. Look, they're entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, independent contractors. They're going up against the big guys in the pitch or a national firm. They're thinking, how the hell can I compete? But you figured out a way to compete, which actually translate to the business world. So can you share some of your principles about being an underdog and leveraging where you are to have success?
Absolutely. And as you said, I've felt like an underdog my whole life. I was always the little guy, whether it was junior high school, college, or pro. But one of the things that really helped me is I realized that the odds don't matter, the odds of success, because NFL stats, when you look at 1 million high school athletes, it's a 0.008% chance to go to the NFL. College is 1.6% chance. And when you make it, like you said, average player plays less than 2 years. So I just threw those odds out the window. I said, forget about that. My foot's in the door, and I believe that when opportunity knocks, you don't answer the door. You rip the door off the hinges and you make opportunity stay. You do what it takes. So that followed with just getting my mind, really learning how to master my thinking. Because one small idea in any situation can take you up or it can take you down. There is no in between. So I always try to make sure that from a mindset standpoint, I was controlling my thought process and that I was always thinking positively and having that strong belief. But the other thing too is I'm not afraid to do the work. And that's been one of my assets, is that nobody's going to outwork me. I will put in as much work as possible. Think about it as a wide receiver, Rod. I would spend hours after hours catching the ball, mastering the skill sets that it takes to be efficient at my job. And I challenge companies or businesses all the time and say, how much time do you spend mastering the skills to where the skills are automatic? Because as a wide receiver, I don't have time to think about all these big guys want to take my head off. I got to create these habits so that it's automatic to make the catch. So putting in that work. But the other thing too is I think I've been very good at dealing with FASCO. FASCO is an acronym I came up with. It represents failures, adversities, setbacks, challenges and obstacles. I just lumped them into one word because there's that thing that's trying to stop you from achieving your goal, or something unexpected happens. There's a roadblock. And I've been able to take those moments, as you could say, as breakthrough opportunities, breakthroughs. Because when I tore my ACL up after the draft, I just say, what? Either this is going to take me down and out, or it's going to take me to bigger and better things. And so I made a decision it was going to take me to bigger and better things. And so FASCO or failures and those have never, ever interfered with my progress. And a lot of that, once again, comes back to your mindset, your belief system, and what you feel and what you believe in.
That's awesome. FASCO. You talk about some things as far as outworking or working harder. Does the principle of working harder, does that always stick, or does it get you to a certain point? What about outworking your competitors? Because I would think, especially in NFL and certainly in business, you have competitors that are working as hard as you. So then what?
I think you alluded to this, but we took the concept of making incremental improvements, because in the NFL, everybody's a great athlete. You get there and everybody's an All-American. Everybody's this, that. So there's a very thin line that separates us. And so what I learned quickly is I'm going to make small incremental improvements in my game, whether it's how I catch the ball, whether it's how I stand, whether it's how I read defenses. Because, Rod, that's the difference between whether you play on Sunday or whether you're watching the game from your sofa on Sunday. So what I was able to do was, okay, JJ, what's your competitive advantage? What's that little something, that little value proposition, that little something extra you bring to the table? And when Hanford, in my first experience, threw me on the ground, I realized that I got great speed, I have great quickness. I just have to master how to beat these guys when they're in my face.
JJ, you also talk about this idea of getting your head in the game. Business is mental. It's a lot of mindset elements. So what do you have to share for business folks with regards to getting their head in the game?
I think that's a great saying, because it's like the metaphor for life. Either we're defeating ourselves or we're making ourselves champions. And we got to mentally be in the game and not on the sideline. So one of the things I tell people is mindset is about how you think and how you feel. And one of the best ways to master it, you got to think from a positive standpoint. The most successful people have positive mindsets, because positive people see the bright side of everything. You know, if there's a failure, setback, they see the bright side. They always know that there's a chance for success. And so that when you deal with moments that are challenging or whatever, you come back to, okay, I'm still in the game. I still have an opportunity. I just need to go ahead and follow whatever plan I put together.
Okay. And I want to ask you, got two more questions. We're going to wrap this up. And one is, we talked about setbacks already. I know this is a theme. This is Simon Sinek, and another theme. You talk about it as well. Understanding the why or the reasons behind doing something. So can you express or expand on that idea?
Yeah, I will. And this is always my number one point. I think most of my keynote speaking, I start with this one, because I think the why, the motivation is key to anything you're doing. Just because, or I don't know, will only take you so far. But I like to remind the audience of this. If the why is strong enough, the process to get there is not a challenge. You will do whatever it takes. And so when you look at me, 157 pounds, and I got to go hit a 260-pound linebacker, I didn't think twice, because the motivation was take care of my family, create opportunities for us, get out of the hood. So I tell people, you have to take the time to ask questions and find out what inspires you, what motivates you, what gets you excited. And once you find that out, you keep asking, you keep digging until you get to the core. Once you get, that's the thing that's going to take you through those good days and most importantly, those bad days.
I love that. And I find when I ask people why they want coaching, for example, the number one answer, JJ, what do you think the number one answer is when I ask that question?
Because they want help.
They want to make more money. And you got to answer, why do you want to make more money?
Yes.
If all we focus on is money, that's achievable, sure. If that's all you want, sit in the office 12 hours a day, make 200 calls, and we can get you there. But there's got to be another reason for that. It's the freedom, it's the margin that we talk about.
Let me just add this, because this is really important, because when they give you the first answer, that's not strong enough. And I'll give you a quick example. I had a woman I met with in Chicago. She wanted some tips on how to lose weight. I said, why do you want to lose the weight? I want to get healthy. Why do you want to be healthy? I want to be able to play on the ground with my daughter. And I said, why do you want to do that? She said, I want to be around. What do you mean? My mom died of obesity when I was a child. I want to be around for my daughter's wedding. I said, bingo, there's your why. So we had to use that technique of peeling the onion and keep asking questions to get to the core. And when people do that, they'll find that deep-seated motivation.
Yeah, that's the motivation. You're absolutely correct. Now, Jay, you talk about something interesting here I'm going to get to in a second, because I find that a lot of our clients, when we first meet them, they'll have success and they'll close a big deal, they'll do something, and then they'll say, okay, what's next? What's next? And I say, wait a minute. Don't we have to celebrate the victory? When a football game, play after play, was I successful? Did I did what I want? Yes or no? And ultimately, did we win the game? Obviously, right? Business, a little bit, but people don't take the perspectives. I think they should. Was this play successful versus did we close the big deal? Because if every play is successful, we preach, you will close more deals. You will. Just the plays have to be. Right. So you talk about this idea of taking advantage of these championship moments. What does that mean?
Yeah, taking advantage of championship moments is when you're having one of those great days, a great call, a great deal, something's going amazing in your business. Those are your championship moments. And as a professional athlete, when we're having a big game, what do? Keep feeding me, coach. Keep throwing me the ball, because mentally you're strongest, you're 10 feet tall, bulletproof, and you're at your highest. And so that's when you want to just challenge yourself, especially in the business world. You close a great deal, pick up the phone and make that call. Who's on your fear list? Do the things that make you uncomfortable, especially when you're having those championship moments, because your mental capacity is as strong as it's going to be.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Who's on your fear list? That's a great one. It's funny. I had a call recently from a client, and she said, I just want to share with you, I made a certain number of calls, or a very limited number, and I got the highest capture rate and conversion rate to meetings I've ever had in my career. I said, fantastic. What's next? She goes, I'm going to stop because this cannot continue. You're right. I can see it in business as well. JJ, incredible. I mean, we're honored to have you as a guest at the Massimo Show. Certainly, you think about someone who's a 9-year veteran in the NFL, a Hall of Fame member at the University of Oregon, and more impressive than all, now sharing a message across the world about how to really transform your individual businesses. How do folks get in touch with you and learn more about yourself and your services?
Yeah, the best place is my website, jjbirden.com. You can learn everything about me there. I'm all over social media. I'm very active too. So, yes, send me a message and say hello. Love to connect.
Yep, and we certainly shall. And JJ, I greatly appreciate your valuable time. And certainly I wish you the best of luck moving forward.
All right. Thanks, Rod. Keep up the good message you spread, and see you next time.
Okay, everyone, this has been Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. You know what I'm going to say? JJ has a great message to share. So it's now your responsibility to play it forward and share this message with them. And as I always say, knowing isn't doing. So let's move forward and start some doing. Talk to y'all soon. Take care. I want to thank you for listening to this version of the Massimo Show. And please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, president and founder of the Massimo Group. And did you know that for over the past 11 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners just like you in repositioning their and/or their team's efforts so they can build the personal, professional practice they've always dreamed of. We provide coaching programs for all levels of experience, earnings, and yes, success. So if you're finally ready to get off that transaction treadmill and tracing deals that are growing nowhere and start building the personal, professional business and life consisting of greater wealth and more time, check us out at massimo.coach. That's MASSIMO.